back. This is Beyond the Fourth Wall. I'm 𝗕𝗲𝗶𝗀𝗄𝗂, and this is
𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗀𝗃.
We are the co-artistic directors of Fourth Wall Theater Company. Our guests tonight are our very dear, dear friends, Kevin and Jennifer Dean. Kevin is the artistic director of 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗃players, and Jennifer is the marketing director of 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗃players. So we have something in common. We are married couples who work at the same theater. So that's going to be fun. We're going to talk a little bit about those kinds of things and about theater and also about our wonderful collective history. We have lots of projects that we've done together, things in common, and a great friendship that goes back many, many years. So let's get started. First of all, I want to know about what the heck Kevin Dean is wearing.
Well, when we sat down in the, right before we went live, I noticed how pretentious Philip looks with his little Han Solo vest and glasses. So I felt like my look needed to be a little more pretentious.
Your tag keeps doing
in my town. This is just how unpretentious so I felt like I needed to convey a certain level of pretension.
Pretentious or tacky? I'm not really sure.
6'1", tomato. So I'm going to just get rid of this real quick.
We're going to have some wardrobe changes.
Yeah.
Oh, see? Theater. Good.
Have you had anybody do wardrobe changes through one of these interviews?
What happened, Kevin?
Oh.
Look, Phillips.
Yes.
Well,
You both
let's
changed.
just, now it's a show.
Kids are still awake at home.
We
Stop.
do want people to actually stay and watch.
Okay, so I was thinking today about how I first met both Jennifer and Kevin, and I think that both of those stories are pretty good.
Go.
Do you remember, Jennifer, how we first met?
I don't know that I remember what you remember.
She buried it.
Right. I first saw you, I think, in this, it was a workshop that Kim's class put on, and you did
Yes.
from a Tennessee Williams short play called Talk to Me Like the Rain, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And you were so good.
Mm-hmm.
Aw,
Yeah.
Like,
thank you. I was thinking about that just the other day.
Yeah.
yeah. And
I think I had just met you in passing, like at an audition around town or something, but we didn't actually have a conversation. It was like, hi, shake hand.
yeah.
So that was probably our first official.
That's when I remember really knowing who you were.
Yeah. That was a fabulous experience getting to do that. That was kind of my whole introduction to Kim and Philip, because I had decided to take one of Kim's classes.
Yeah.
And did one round of class, and I remember the first day I was so terrified. Like sweaty palms, and when she started calling people to do the Meisner repetition exercise, I knew I was gonna have to, because everybody had to go, and I was just like, please don't call me, please don't call me.
Oh.
I mean, we hit it off, and so that workshop came out of that class, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember also, my experience in Houston is very weird, because I was a freelance actor, but I worked a lot at the Alley, and in those days it was so we all worked really hard, so we didn't get out much, and I didn't see a lot of theater around town, and I'd never been to the 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗃players, which I'm sorry for now, because I know now how good the work was. It must have been then, because I know how good the work is now, and so yeah.
Well,
And so then I guess to continue, Kevin, do you remember when we met?
There's a couple of memories that sort of all bleed together. What I remember our first meeting was that at the audition for 𝗙𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃, the feature film about Chris Evans played the lead, and Philip and I can't remember, because I got called back a handful of times, but
Yeah, we were called back together, and the casting director was just a total meanie.
can you do less?
She was really mean to you, is what I remember. And
Yeah.
Not cool.
I'm demonstrative, which doesn't, for camera actors, they just want you to do this. They just want you to be like, hey, you went the other way.
Just
I like to use my face.
But I remember
Use my eyebrows.
that guy was really nice. and he took it really well, and she was a total meanie to him. Yeah, that's a good guy. I wonder who he is. Yeah, anyway, so
Yeah.
we've known. So I've known. I don't know. And did you meet Jennifer in your class?
No, that's my memory. I don't think I'd seen you before that. So somebody
No, I had emailed because I had heard about your class, and I had emailed about it at one point, but I was dealing with some stuff, and then just schedule wise, and then I think that was actually when you had been out of town and had some of your initial illness stuff happening.
Oh.
And so you weren't teaching for a little while, and then when you came back, the timing worked out, and so then I was able to take that first class, and that was the first time we met. And so then you met Kevin just through me, and Philip and Kevin had crossed paths.
Well, yeah, because I remember at the audition, in and around it or something, Philip and I were talking because you were getting ready to direct Leaving Iowa.
Yeah.
And Philip and I talked about that because that's what Philip's from Iowa. And so that just sort of started that conversation. And I remember that. And I remember coming back telling Jennifer, you know, I met a guy like you. I think, you know, you should read him. But at the time, 80 players weren't going out of their way to hire equity actors and take on equity contracts. And so we ended up casting that one in-house. But yeah, I remember us talking about that out, you know, before that audition.
I remember driving by 80 players from time to time, you know, back when it used to be on Alabama.
Yeah, West Alabama.
And I wonder what they do in there. Christian.
Oh man,
theater.
that building was old.
I was very snooty about it. And I think I only knew Tom Pryor. He had done some stuff with you guys, but I don't think I ever even asked. Instead of buying a ticket and finding out, I was just like, I wonder what they do.
You weren't really alone in that. I mean, kind of.
We were very siloed for many years.
And you know, back history there for a while. We were pretty insular from the rest of the theatrical community. So
well,
alone in that.
Yeah, and I think that I certainly then the alley was too. It wasn't. It's something that's changed in our town. And I think that, you know, the leadership of 80 players, which you guys are, you know, has had a hand in that. And I think it's really great. So why don't we talk real fast about why don't we talk about being married and working at the same theater? So, do you guys bring work home?
Well, now you do.
Yeah, we
it's
always
difficult not to.
Yeah.
Try not to, but you end up
It was
doing
interesting. It's really interesting because Kevin and I met at 80 Players. And so the start of our relationship was working together, and we worked there together for several years.
In secret.
Oh, why?
We thought it was secret.
We didn't want anybody in our business, right? You know, asking us. We toured together, so you know, we sort of dated on the road, right? We got to know each other, traveling and touring together with two other of our fellow actors, and you know, we would hold hands, sort of, when nobody was looking. But you know, we didn't want anybody in our business, especially if it didn't work out.
Yeah, right. Sure.
But so then we worked together at 80 Players for several years, and then I left for a while and worked elsewhere for about 13 years. And then it's only been about a little over 2 years that I've been back at the theater, and we've been working together again.
Right.
So it's really interesting because in that 13-year period where I worked somewhere else, it was amazing the other things that we talked about.
Oh, that's probably true. I never even thought of that. We've never not worked together.
Yeah, I mean, because our lives overlap, and even though we don't work directly together in the sense of like, he's not my direct supervisor, our departments are a little bit separate, but the work still overlaps, and it's something you're always processing, and it is almost impossible to leave it at work and not bring it home.
Sure.
Well, and we should mention for anybody who doesn't know, and we've already hinted at this, Jennifer is the marketing director at 80 Players, but she also has a huge artistic presence, around the town, and as a director and an actor. So,
well, we'll talk about her history at our theater pretty soon.
And so, that I'm sure that sometimes you're talking about business of 80 Players, but well, I don't know. I'll ask you, is it mostly business or is it more art?
It's both. It's hard for it not to be both. You bring those things home with you, and like she said, we're sort of on different sides of the org chart. But she does direct at the theater, and has in the past, and so she sort of straddles that fence like I do, because you have. One side, there's the artistic side, then there's the administrative side. And so it's challenging not to, because if one thing is harmonious, inevitably the other thing's not going to be. But, so maybe the art is going great and rehearsal's going great, but, you've got stress on the admin end, or other way around, you have to have actors that are having problems or problems with the set or something like that, but then everything on the other side is going smooth. So inevitably something we got to complain about.
Well, and everybody talks to their spouses about their work things, so it's just that
except spies.
Well, supposedly. They're not supposed to, but who's to say what they actually do? So,
I'm sorry.
I will say our daughter is a nice distraction.
Yeah.
Because by the time we get her in the bath and get her to bed, we're just too tired to.
So tell us who your daughter is and how old she is.
Well, and she will, and I'll tell you about her. She's at the age too where she doesn't really want us to talk about stuff. She wants dad's attention to play, and if he's trying to tell me something or I come in to ask him a question, she will say, "Mommy, don't talk to daddy right now."
Oh God.
Yeah. So she's 4. Our daughter Livy, she's 4, and she is at the neighbor's house right now. We have some real neighbors who have kiddos of their own around her age, and so she's hanging out with them for a little bit. So,
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah. But so she is a good distraction, and I will say there's a challenge, and I assume you guys wrestle with some of this as well. There are times where I have to decide what hat I'm going to wear within our communication. Like there are times when Kevin is asking me questions and picking my brain about stuff, and he really wants my artistic input or my theatrical point of view. There are other times where he just wants me to be his wife and listen and support and not give my 2 cents on XYZ. And so there's a balance of when I actually speak into the theatrical side of things and when am I just his wife and supporting him in this particular role. And
we relate to that.
Absolutely.
So, oh gosh. Yeah, I mean, and it's really hard to kind of find the right words to say, shut up.
Philip basically says to me, I don't want you to tell me how to fix it. That's what he says to me. And I'm like, oh, so I'm just like, you're just talking now and I'm just shutting up. And he's like, yes. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will ask, like, do you want my opinion right now, or do you want me to just,
pat you on the back? It's okay.
Yeah, right. Yes. Well, that's important. Okay. When you're both really proficient and excellent and good at what you do, it's hard because you get excited about thinking about, oh, you just presented a problem and I think I have a solution or an idea, but you don't want it. And it's almost like you literally have to go, when somebody doesn't want it because they want to try, almost the talking is them trying to work it out themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, so you're going, oh, and then you haven't even been sometimes for me, I haven't even been in the room. And I'm like, well, let me tell you. And he's like, you weren't even there. I'm like, doesn't matter. Let me tell you. I know. Yeah, I do it.
I mean, sometimes it's
hard. It's
a little bit of a vacation to go, like when I got to come to 80 Players and direct around the world in 80 days, and Kim wasn't involved, and so that was I mean, that was nice on, you know, and on one level, it was really nice because I didn't have to come home and you know, I would tell her about what was going on and maybe we'd discuss it that way, but she wasn't there. Oh, there we go. There's
yeah.
Hey.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Well, imagine that was nice too, because and Kim's directed at the theater as well.
Yeah.
You can just wear your director hat, right? You don't have to wear your producer hat.
Yeah.
You know, you can just wear the director hat and do that job and let me be the producer, whomever be the producer, and you know, and worry about that. So that I'm sure that's a load off as well.
It is, and we don't get to do that very often, and it's really nice for us to be able to come over to your theater and just be a director or an actor and not have to do the other thing. And then if we do come home and talk to each other about it, it's actually there's no investment in our own theater, so it's not like, well, that's not the way we do it. It's like, oh, you're just asking me an actual script practicality question, and I can go, well, that sounds like a good solution, or I can go, well, I think if you just wait, it'll work itself out. Or I don't feel like I have an investment in, like, I have to take it over to fix it. Oh my God, we're gonna fail.
Right.
Or you get a little nervous that something's going really wrong and you need to come help do something. I don't feel as much pressure. I feel like I can actually listen a little bit more relaxed if he came home from something at 80 players and just wanted my opinion. Yeah. So that's nice when we get to do something with you guys. Plus, we like doing things with you guys because you're all so talented and you're so generous and you do such wonderful work.
Well, it's fun working together, right? I mean, we get along.
We have fun.
And that collaboration is fun, and and it should be. I mean, there's always going to be a moderate amount of drama in what we do, creative, and you know there'll be those things, but at the end of the day, you know, it's just fun to play make believe with you guys.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I always feel like for me, like when I've come to work for you guys, or I've worked with other people, or I've taken education situations on with other people, it's really important for me that I feel like, because I know I'm going to hit a wall somewhere where it's going to be hard. That's inevitable. To me, when you're trying to achieve something that's better than what you thought it could be, which is my goal always, that I always want to surpass what I envisioned on my own when I collaborate with the other people who give me more than I imagined. That's my idea. So,
what's going on? You need to take that.
Good job, Kevin.
Look, it says spam risk.
Spam risk. So
not answering that.
Oh no, her.
But when I'm in that environment, and now I forgot what I was gonna say.
Thanks, spam.
His phone.
Spam. I'm just spamming. Just go. Doesn't matter.
Change
the
the subject a little bit. I was just counting. Jennifer Dean, you've directed.
Oh, here it comes. A ton. Put it up there, Catherine. Show how much she's done at our theater.
Well, she directed God Game, co-directed Lobby Hero,
With
Virginia
me,
Woolf, Shakespeare in Vegas, was in Reckless,
and
directed Collective
yes,
Stories,
was in Reckless.
and Realistic Jones.
Yep.
I feel like there's one missing. But anyway.
Is there one missing,
That's
Jennifer?
a lot. I don't think I've directed 6 shows at Fourth Wall Theater.
No, I probably barely have directed 6 shows.
We've probably done more. But
No.
I mean,
I think that's all. I think that's all of them.
Was it? Okay.
I love working with you.
Oh yeah, and
I love working with you guys.
Oh yeah, it's we have a very I think we have a great aesthetic similarity too. That's what I was reaching to in the other comment, was how much I think our ideal, what we're trying to reach, is very similar in terms of our goals for ensemble, relationship, story arc. The way we view how telling stories happens is very similar at our theaters.
Yeah,
I want to know where did you learn to direct? How did you learn to direct? Who taught you? Or, how did it happen?
Kevin. I hate to say that I kind of fell into it, but I did kind of fall into it.
Nothing wrong with that.
I had taken a couple directing classes in college because they were just part of my curriculum course requirements. And then I worked at 80 Players for years, and just observation and understanding how I, as an actor, operate and what I want from a director, and how I want to see stories told. And so I would sit in rehearsals and I would watch how a director communicated or how this story was playing out. And I would listen backstage to actors and the things that they liked and they didn't like. And there were so many times that a lot of the things that we didn't enjoy about the process were the same, and you know, and the director's vision or how they were communicating, or you know, I mean, I did a show once where literally the only note I got during the rehearsal process was, can you pick up your teacup on this line instead of that line? And so, you know, you're like,
Yeah.
You know, and so there was a little bit of observing what I didn't like and what I wanted from a director. And then just watching how stories were told and how scripts were analyzed. And so then I just put my name in the hat to direct at 𝗕𝗲 Players, and it started with a couple of our children's theater productions.
Uh-huh.
I did a couple of our
Miss Nelson is Missing.
Yeah, Miss Nelson is Missing is the musical, and then I did a version of Charlotte's Web, and then The Secret Garden, and then I was able to actually move up and do Leaving Iowa, which was my first main stage at 𝗕𝗲. And I really enjoyed it, and I got good response from people, and I mean, obviously it was something I felt like I still needed to continue to learn and to grow and to develop. And then so Leaving Iowa, I was really proud of that one. But then the next, I think the next one was 12 Angry Men, wasn't it? Or was 𝗘𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗶𝗀 before that?
No, 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 was before that.
But anyway,
So, wait a minute.
so progressing through, and I just was given several opportunities to continue refining that, and then
Okay, hold on. 12 Angry Men was like your third directorial outing?
On our main stage.
So, okay, so yeah, here's a picture from it. Why
Yeah.
am I not in that
A handful
picture?
of shows in our children's theater once upon a time.
Oh, there I am. I'm underneath Marty's
There you
armpit.
are. Yeah. Go right in there.
Right under Marty's armpit.
So I was that was the first time I got to act at 𝗕𝗲 Players, and
Huh?
and you directed I'm gonna just say it. You directed the shit out of that play. And that play, I would never want to direct that play, because what's it about? It's about 12 guys, actually 13 guys, sitting around a table.
yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap, what a blocking nightmare.
Yeah, it was I don't know. I've always loved that show.
Oh, it was so good.
I saw the movie, I think in high school, and I loved it. And so when we had the opportunity to do it, I knew it was going to be a challenge. But when you just, because how do you make people move naturally when they're really supposed to sit around a table?
Well,
again, it goes back to what is the story, and what are the relationships, and what are these men talking about? Movement naturally comes out of that. When they're actually connecting to each other and relating to each other. And it's what Kim says of real life circumstances or real life in imaginary circumstances, you know, and so it I don't know. And I had a phenomenal cast, which made it really easy. And so anyway, we're going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, what I remember about that process, there were two things I think that you did that really sort of brought the movement of the play to life. One of them was we had the big window that rained. So you had a place to send people that was visually interesting. But I remember the table at the beginning of the rehearsal process was, I think we had it like the Last Supper table. Or we had
the table.
We had it directly perpendicular. And then a couple of, I don't remember when in the process, but the movement wasn't working. And so you shifted the table to where it was
we did two things.
Askew, and that really opened up how the play moved.
We angled the table a little bit. And I think it was either our second or our third blocking rehearsal, because we'd started at the studio and then rehearsal space, and then we moved to the stage. And when we moved to the stage, I think it was like our second night there, where I said, this isn't working. And we basically flipped the jurors from one side of the table to the other. So instead of it going, 1, 2, 3, 4, 12, we flipped it. And that made all the difference in the world.
Oh, huge difference.
So just shifting the table and adjusting but then just understanding the relationships of these men and what they want from each other and what they are trying to do to the other one. the movement comes from that. But
Well,
I just love that play.
I'll say this again. I want to brag on you just a little bit. I mean, it's one thing to understand how those relationships should be. It's another thing to articulate that to a variety of different personalities who receive information different ways.
Sure.
And so you're really good at communication, knowing when to push, when not to push, when to give notes in front of the cast, and when to pull someone aside and talk privately about it. You have a really great instinct for that. And I think that's what allows you to get the best out of your actors, because you have that, I think, innate understanding of the relationship, but you know how to get that from the actor, which I think is why I would suspect that's why I like working with her. I would guess that's why you guys do.
That's my experience. It's absolutely true. I mean, when I've worked with you, Jennifer, I always feel like you let me go and kind of do some stuff, and then you kind of just tweak it, and you give me such a good, insightful note, and at the right time, and it just helps me. And not every director is like that. I was listening to you talk, and I think I learned to direct kind of the same way. I was thinking at some point that I've done something like 100 plays now in my life, depending on how you count, whatever. And so I've worked with about 100 directors, and there's very few of them that I actually admire as directors. And I think it's because so many of them go to school to be directors, and then they're directors, and the only director they ever encounter is themselves.
Right.
And but all of us have been lucky enough to work for dozens, whatever, a lot of directors, and see them make mistakes, and we go, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to give that note in front of the cast to someone.
Right.
Maybe in private. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing for me as a director, I know, and one of the things I love working with Jennifer is that I know Jennifer is watching what I'm discovering as close as, because she's an actor. She's watching what I'm discovering and what I'm figuring out completely open-mindedly to mine from me what's best for the play. So she doesn't come into the process already decided what has to happen and how it has to happen and where everybody has to stand and what picture has to be there. She understands that. She knows the story, she understands the relationships, but she also realizes that as a really good actor starts to work and starts to move, that she's going to be able to mine from that person's behavior, from that person's interactions, a stronger picture and a stronger sense of interactions and relationships than she can do by herself. She automatically knows that. And that's what a great director understands. They know that I come in and I block you, and that's why I always say the first blocking is never the last blocking, because I did it by myself. I can't possibly know what everybody else in that room is going to do before I start.
Right.
So I'm just blocking you so that you have a framework.
Yeah.
And that's what Jennifer does. And that's why with Lobby Hero, it was so great. She gave me that framework, and then I never even had to think about the framework. I just went in after 2 weeks, and she created this beautiful set of framework for me when she had a new baby. And then I went in and got to just watch the freedom of these people already having basic, strong relationship tactics and desires and needs. And then I just got to clean it up and make it move easy. Yeah. Because she already set it up for me. So we were a great team because we both see things the same way.
Right.
So
I think I don't want to turn this into a conversation about my directing, but
no, that's okay.
I think for all of us, because we are also actors, there is that collaborative part of the process that we enjoy the team, we enjoy working together and communicating with each other, not just being told, this is what I want you to do. And so there is a give and take, and sometimes it's really pleasant, and sometimes it can be hard. Sometimes it's not, but we're okay with that. And I know I learn every time I direct, especially, the shows that I've directed at Fourth Wall. I tell people, when Kim came to me and asked me to direct Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, I laughed at her. I laughed. I was like, she's surely not about that. And
That's good.
but every time I learn so much from Kim. I learned from Philip. I learned from Kevin. You know, we haven't been able to work together much in the past few years, but it's just
Kids.
yeah.
They ruin everything.
But and every other theater I've worked at, you know, you just, it's just building blocks.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Kevin, would you describe your becoming a director in similar terms, or?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to Jennifer's. You know, I got into this business as an actor, and that was sort of what I wanted to do, and did for many years at the 80 Players and as a part of their acting company. And I started directing when I took over the children's theater for the 80 Players. And so I started directing in the Round. We used to have a theater in the Round at St. Luke's United Methodist over off Westheimer in Edlow. And our children's theater, that was our children's theater's home. And so I directed plays there, and that's sort of where it started. But like Jennifer, you know, you apply the experience of the directors that you've observed. And it's interesting now because, you know, I started directing in the Round, and then I directed at Grace Theater. But, you know, our new theater at the George Theater is a much bigger space. And so in some ways, I feel like, you know, I'm still trying to figure this thing called directing out. I enjoy each process. But I think I love the collaborative nature of it. I love collaborating. I love ideas. You know, like if I have an idea that gives Philip an idea, which gives Kim an idea, and then that's the idea we go with. I don't care whose idea it was. It's that our collective imaginations came up with this, and I love being a part of that teamwork, the teamwork nature of that. But there's a downside to that I've discovered, at least for me, because I can tend to be maybe overly collaborative in the sense that I've had to learn, okay, at this point, my voice needs to be the loudest voice.
Yeah. That's a hard lesson to learn how to do. Yeah, that's an important thing. Good.
And I remember I learned that lesson on a show where the playwright was actually in the room because we were doing a world premiere. And at one point late in the process, one of the actors was like, you know, I have an acting note. And then they addressed the playwright. And I was like, oh.
Whoopsie.
Okay. I've made an enormous mistake in how I've allowed the collaborative nature of the room to be, because there needs to be a singular voice at some point, right, where everybody needs to coalesce behind that. So I've learned and am learning, continuing to learn, you know, when I need to be the loudest voice in the room, and then you know, speak up with kindness and say, no, this is what we're going to do. And I think, I'll tell you, Philip is really great at that. He's very collaborative. I remember during 80 days, you know, ideas were flying around, and Philip was always up for trying stuff. But at some point, Phil will be like, no, we're going to do it this way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, so, you know,
but we're going to do it this way.
Eventually, you know, you have to block the second act.
Yeah. At some point, you're going to open the show.
Right?
Yeah. I always try to remember in my brain, I always try to say, you know, I try to think on some level, be the dumbest person in the room. So that way I like hear every great idea. But then that's married. He just totally makes me mad. He just opened something up in the middle of the screen, and I totally forgot what I was saying.
She couldn't look at you anymore.
I couldn't see you, so I forgot what I was saying.
Well, you were talking about sometimes you want to play dumb because you want to hear everyone's voice. Right.
Oh, but then like what you're talking about. So I always try to have two things in my brain. It's like to kind of have the idea in my mind that I'm, you know, quote unquote, the dumbest person in the room. So I hear everything, and I don't have a wall against hearing new ideas. But that also, I have to remember, I also want to be the smartest person in the room as far as the script is concerned.
Right.
I don't want to ever not know the answer to every person's, you know, character arc choices, how the script is actually told, and what I believe I've made a choice to a certain degree that the author is trying to do, and what we have to be true to. Not that we have to do it a certain way or it has to be said any kind of way, but that there's a particular way the story has to unfold in order for it to honor that person who's not in the room usually.
Well, that's the biggest, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the biggest thing. I mean, I learned a lot from working with you in Best of Enemies, but that was the big takeaway for me was the understanding of the arc of the story and how all the characters' arcs played in to that arc of the story. And often actors don't see that because many times you can't, right? Because
you're playing your one character, absolutely.
Yeah. But that was the biggest one of the biggest takeaways for me after working with you was that exactly that understanding of how that needs to play out.
Yeah.
And also needing to understand all the different characters. That's why I like small cast shows, because when you do big cast shows, there's too many character arcs.
I know, right?
I have to interrupt because this lovely person, 𝗕𝗲𝗶𝗀𝗏, has been asked a question, and it's just, to me, it's nothing about you, Hector, but to me this is the saddest question that you could ask. His question is, when are the shows?
Oh.
And for us, Hector, for Fourth Wall,
Not
the
for a
only
while.
things we have are online like this, and
We
because
do a
of
script.
COVID, we're not producing. But you know what? It's a good question to ask AD players.
Because you have some things.
You're producing some things, and you should tell
everybody.
Hector what that is.
We have a concert series now that's going on. We've partnered with an organization called Artist Lounge Live. And we're doing a concert called Signed, Sealed, Delivered. John Mark McGaha sings Stevie Wonder. And John Mark McGaha might be one of the most incredibly talented human beings on the face of the earth. He sings the catalog Stevie Wonder. He tells stories about Stevie Wonder. You get the Stevie's history. He plays the piano. It's just an incredible concert.
I can say how great he is because we saw him at your first gala, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he was amazing.
I Will Always Love You. Solo, him and guitar. Like
him and a guitar.
I've never heard it before. Oh.
Yeah. So go if you guys can go.
We've got that, and then our touring unit. We have a show at the theater on selected dates. We're doing a one-man show called Apollo to the Moon, and it's just sort of it's a look at the Apollo program from Apollo 1 to Apollo 11, which landed on the moon, through the eyes of a fictional character that's aspiring to be an astronaut. And there's multimedia. It's really incredible. I'm really, really proud of it. So those are the two things that we have going on right now.
Did you direct that show, Kevin?
I did not. Chip Simmons directed Apollo to the Moon. He's the director of our touring program, and he did a great job. I mean, I think this is some of his best work. It's really great.
And normally that would be going into schools, like the young audiences of Houston would book that into schools for them, for assemblies and performances, but, we can't even be doing that right now. So it's going to be available for streaming for schools that they're going to film it, and then schools can actually download or stream it. But for now, there's just a few states you can see it.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in knowing more about that, in the chat bar, there is a link to AD Player's website. And you can find more about that.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're not able to do.
No, and we've got amazing safety protocols. So, we're not just doing this willy-nilly. We've got some pretty incredible.
Oh, they do. They have a lot in order. They've been able to do a lot. So you guys should go out and see it. You'll be safe. You'll be taken care of. If you want to get out to the theater and you've been starving for it, this is a really safe place to go. So you should go.
So let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit. We have a little time left. And I know there's an article probably coming out in the Houston Press in the next week or two about this. But so we at Fourth Wall can't produce anything live right now because all of our productions are under the Aegis of Actors Equity Association, the union. And right now the union will not even allow us to ask for a contract because the COVID numbers are too high in Houston. And AD Players also works under equity contracts, but you're still able to produce a couple of different shows. Can you just explain why?
Sure. Yeah. So our concert series isn't under the umbrella of Actors Equity because it's not a play, it's not a story, it's a concert. And so we have a CBA with the Musicians Union, and so we've contracted. I think is it 6? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's like 6 musicians that are a part of the show. They're all socially distanced. And then John Mark, and then 2 backup singers, and who are all absolutely incredible. But because it's a concert, we're it's very easy to socially distance the musicians, the singers, the musicians that don't require their mouth to play their instrument, wear a mask.
Yeah.
And the singers sing out, so they're not singing at one another. And so because that's not under the jurisdiction of Actors Equity, we're able to do that. And our touring unit is not under the umbrella of Actors Equity either. So we're, as an equity theater, they oversee our main stage productions, and we do 5 of those a year.
So do we?
You are with regards to our main stage season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Kevin and Kim and I were on a call yesterday with a bunch of artistic directors from around Houston, and we started talking a little bit about this. And some theaters are starting to produce some live stuff under different contracts, like you're talking about, Kevin, and or they're doing films with a Screen Actors Guild contract, SAG for short. And it's a really kind of painful, interesting time to be a theater producer, because I think we're all wondering, you know, how can we produce safely? And you convinced yourselves that you are, and I think that's great. And but many of us aren't able to convince the actors union that it's possible at this point. So we're stuck.
Which, and I think it's a really strange. And the actors union, just to be clear for everybody, isn't even letting people produce outdoors right now. So it's not like they're just saying you can't produce inside your theater. They're not even approving, that I know of. They've approved of 2 outdoor venue productions, and they were both in states that had like a 0 infection rate. I mean, it was almost non-existent. And the protocol for those actors to perform together was unbelievable. It wasn't a play. It was some kind of hospital experiment or something. I don't know. So that's all I'm saying. I wouldn't even want to do it. I was like, oh God. And then the cost even to implement what equity wants you to do is so fiscally taxing that you can't even rationalize that you would want to do it, because it's just too cost prohibitive.
Right, and that money's got to come from somewhere. So where's it going to come from? Something's got to give, right?
What are you going to charge? $300 a ticket?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and then there's the question of, you know, how comfortable are people going to be coming to the theater?
Yeah.
You know, so even when you get everything approved and everything safe, people are still trying to decide what they're comfortable with.
On the flip side, you know, you have people that are more than comfortable going outdoors to restaurants or going indoors to restaurants, but they may not want to come to a theater and have to wear a mask for 90 minutes. You know,
right. Well, it's a very strange thing. I was thinking a lot about that, and I was like, well, you know, why am I comfortable running out to the grocery store or to, you know, Target to grab something? I was like, well, because I only have to be in there for 20 minutes, and I get to move. If someone's close to me, I can get out of their way. I'm in control of my time and of what I do. Theater's a weird thing, and I was thinking about this. I'm trapped. If I go in there, I'm making a commitment to sit in the chair. And just think about this, guys. What happens when somebody starts coughing 2 aisles from you, 2 rows from you? Everybody on stage is not paying attention anymore to what's going on in that show for that 10-minute cough episode or whatever it is. So it's I mean, it's still a weird time.
Isn't that true all the time? Because people start coughing and
yes, but now it's a whole nother level.
Right.
It's normally just because we think they're rude and annoying. Now it's like, oh crap, I'm gonna die. It's like, what's going on? It's really crazy. It's a very scary, strange time, and I think I totally understand why we're at a particular place and we still have a hurdle to jump about getting people inside a venue. You know, it's almost outdoors is much easier to me, because if you're sitting outdoors and you want to get up and walk over somewhere else, that doesn't really bother anyone. If I'm performing outdoors and people who are sitting at a table get up and move, it doesn't bother me. But people getting up and moving in a theater, for some reason, that holy sanctuary of theater, when people get up and move, you're like, what are you doing? You can't move. Don't you know where you are? It's a very strange thing.
That's interesting though, because, you know, the way we've, the guidelines, you know, we're abiding by the state and the CDC guidelines. So we're seating every other row. And there's at least 6 feet between every party that is there. But that's great because it's safe. But in some ways, you know, when you go to the theater, there's like, we're all sitting in the dark in this cold theater, and we're strangers, and we're going to watch this story unfold. And, you know, the more people that are in there, the more energy there is to make that theater and experience happen.
Sure.
You're just limited, you know, when you've got to limit people.
Right, and you're not next to each other. Part of
Right.
the experience is the energy exchange. So you also are messing that up.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's really I mean, I think about it a lot, and I'm not really sure how I feel about it. Some days I feel like we should do it and see what happens. Other days I'm
Yeah.
like, no. I go back and forth.
So one of the things that's kind of come up in this whole time is people making films or TV shows. And I think that probably well, I shouldn't say this, but many people might not know, Kevin, that you are a screenwriter who's been produced.
Yeah,
Well, no, wait a minute. Don't laugh. It's true, right?
it's good.
That is true. Yes, I co-wrote 2 Lifetime original movies with a writer and director named 𝗕𝗲𝗆𝗀𝗶𝗀𝗶,
Who's on our board.
Sits on our board.
Sits on our
who's
board.
on your board of directors. She's an incredible filmmaker, and an incredible advocate for film. Yeah, so the first one we wrote was a Lifetime movie called The Preacher's Mistress. And yeah, very salacious. And
Yeah,
the
that's
funny story behind that is we were told, you know, you need to write a show with preacher in the title because those titles sell in America. But they don't overseas because nobody cares about preacher movies overseas. So you need to write a movie about a preacher, but it can't be important to the plot that he's a preacher.
Well,
Because
okay.
they changed the title. So our title in America was A Preacher's Mistress. When it went overseas, it became A Woman Betrayed.
wow.
So we wrote 2.
Yeah, I'll watch A Woman Betrayed.
Well, okay. What? So, but have you been writing some other things, or have you thought about writing a movie that 80 players could produce?
I've got some ideas, but I haven't had the time to sit since taking over. Well, it's the last 3-4 years have just been sort of an incredible journey of moving into theater administration, and then just the amount of mental energy that requires.
And a baby.
And a baby.
We moved. We're in Sugar Land now.
Yeah.
And so that sort of has occupied a lot of my time and energy and creativity. I miss it. I've realized, it's funny you mentioned, I was thinking about this the other day because I've got an idea for something that I'd like to sit down and start writing again. And I feel like I need to have something wrong in my life so that I can pour it into that. I've got to be damaged in some way or angry.
That's your job, Jennifer. There you go.
And that has to be like a cathartic release.
Yeah.
I remember, I'm not going to get into stuff, but we have a fertility journey, right, that we went on. And so that obviously ended with the adoption of our child. But, that was a 12-year journey, and that churned up a lot of stuff. And so writing became an outlet for that, And so, I need you, you're going to have to leave me or something. So I'm writing again.
Or at least act it.
Right?
Kevin, was your preacher cheating on you?
We were given the title. We wrote that movie around the title. So we submitted to the producer, 5 or 6 titles with a preacher in it. A preacher's this, a preacher's that, a preacher's mistress. I like that one. Go with it. So we wrote that around the title.
That's movie making.
God, there
And
you
what
go.
was the title of the
Movie making for
the
Lifetime.
Yeah.
What was the sequel called?
It wasn't related in any way. It was just, it was called A Preacher's Confession.
Probably about the same thing, though. Sex, cheating.
It's funny, I remember, you should ask Michelle about this. I wonder how much she remembers about this process. We were told very early on, someone has to die. It's a Lifetime movie. Somebody's got to die. So we've got a title and the fact that we got to kill somebody off halfway through the show for a plot twist. And,
All right.
off we went.
Well, there you have
It
it.
reminds me of Shakespeare in Love when, It's about
Yeah.
pirates. Juliet and the pirates.
Pirates.
Yes.
Gotta be pirates.
Just got to be pirates.
Oh, you guys. Well, is there anything that we sent you a bunch of questions and that we never get to all of them. Was there anyone like, gosh, I hope they asked me about that? Anything come to mind?
Well, I don't know. What are they?
No,
Don't look them up. Yeah, don't look them up. It's not that important.
Oh,
Houston and theater.
yeah, Houston and theater.
How you decided, or why you decided to do Houston and
Oh yeah, why did you?
theater?
Well, I think ours is the same answer. The 80 players hired us.
Well, that's good.
Back in 1999, I was about to move either to New York or to LA, and a friend of mine said, "Have you ever heard of the 80 players? It's a theater in Houston." And gosh, this was in the early days of the internet, so not very many people had websites, and 80 players certainly didn't have a website. So I called. They sent me some information. They had an internship program that looked interesting, so I decided, well, I'll audition for this internship program, and I auditioned. And so I was like, if they don't hire me, I'm just going to move to LA. And they hired me, and so I was like, okay, well, I'll do this for a year, and that's 21 years ago. So if this doesn't work out, I'm going to move to LA.
I think you should. Just always be brave and bold enough to go somewhere new.
Yeah.
I got 2 Lifetime movies under my belt.
There you go. You're ready.
Town by storm.
Well, you can joke about that, but there's
No, that's a big deal.
a lot of screenwriters who've never gotten
That's
anything
right.
put in video.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
That's great.
I'm impressed by that.
Me too.
My mom keeps asking him to write a Christmas movie for Hallmark.
There you go.
Come
See?
on.
Like it's
Do
just
that
like
for
you
your
just submit
mother-in-law.
it. You just submit the movie and they'll okay.
We'll do it.
Christmas.
There aren't a lot of Christmas movies that really work. We watched a movie last night called Black Christmas, which was a horror film set in a sorority at Christmas. And only interesting because it was directed by Bob Clark, who also made a really good Christmas movie called A Christmas Story, or Shoot Your Eye Out.
Well,
And
he must
it's
like Christmas.
crazy
He
that
must.
he did both movies. Because one's a steaming piece of poo.
Oh, come on. It was
And-
fun.
The other is a classic.
I like the horror movies. You know how I am.
Have you watched
that card.
this is totally off subject here, but have you watched the new Adam Sandler Halloween movie?
Halloween.
No.
Is it good? No.
Okay. Come on.
Oh, come on. You never know.
Really?
Sometimes an Adam Sandler movie is funny.
I mean, it's old school campy Adam Sandler, like to an nth
Yeah,
degree.
it's free,
Right.
and it's just over the top Adam Sandler. So
I know how much you like your Halloween horror, Kim.
No, it's not like my good scary movies.
Well, I guess that's what
No.
we should tell people to do when
There you go.
when they stop watching our
interviews.
podcast here.
Go watch
Maybe
Adam
not.
Dial
Sandler.
up Adam Sandler.
Or Black Christmas.
So I guess my next thing is we got to figure out when this whole theater thing can happen again. We finally have to figure out something that the 4 of us can
Yes,
together.
we will. We're going to put that on the docket of things to do.
You
for
know
sure.
I'm down.
We want to.
Oh,
We've
yeah,
been
man.
talking about it too long. Whichever theater it's at doesn't matter to me. We just got to do it.
I'd like to get directed by Kevin.
I know. Me too.
I've never
3
been
of
to
us. Maybe we can find something with the 3 of us and Kevin can direct it. Or with a couple extra people's fine too, but the 3 of us for
I'm
sure.
kind of difficult though. That's what I
He is.
understand.
He is.
yeah,
He always says this is what his favorite thing is. Can we just do it? I'm like, you'll do it when I'm done talking about it.
You just do it. No, we can't, Kevin. We
I'm not
can't
done
because you're not
talking.
listening.
I always know when Philip is done with my note. When he starts going, okay.
Yep. Okay. Can we do it?
Let's
Can we do it?
It's awful. I'm so sorry, you guys, but
He hates it.
I like get the note and I'm like, okay, now I know what I'm gonna do, and then I look up and she's still talking.
I'm like, you know what?
Come on.
Because you're gonna do it wrong. So if I finish talking, maybe you'll do it right. Okay, that's my be the dumbest person in the room. I'm like, no, you're the dumbest person in the room.
You're
I'm
the
very
dumbest
smart
one.
right now. There's your marriage.
I'm the dumbest one. That's for sure.
Oh God.
Oh,
So,
Well,
what happened on stage to either of you that was
We want a
horribly
funny story.
embarrassing, or oh my God, they forgot the crown?
or something.
Okay,
What's
I've got
funny
to. I
story?
was in this production, but this wasn't a moment that I was involved in. was watching it from the back of the house, but it was gold. Do you guys know Mary Jane Vanderver?
Oh, I don't. I know.
Okay,
I
she's
don't,
an
but-
actress, and I think she's moved to Austin several years ago, but she was
Okay.
in Houston for years and years and years. She worked on and off at the Alley once upon a time. A very grandiose woman, and big voice. And so we were doing a play called Ring Round the Moon by Christopher Fry. He did the adaptation. And I'm not going to tell you the plot of the play, but so you've got Mary Jane's character was in a wheelchair. And she had her maidservant that pushed her around wherever she went. Well, you played a show at our old Grace Theater. There's not a lot of wing space, and depending on how you design the exits, there can be not a lot of room when you exit. So the way that the exit was designed, it was just enough so that the wheelchair could fit through between the wall separating the audience and then the wall on the set. And on the wall separating the audience was a window that had been frosted. So she's wheeling Mary Jane around, and Mary Jane was complaining the whole process that she's not being careful when we exit. She's not being careful when we exit. Because, I mean, it's like, you got to be precise to get that wheelchair through the door. So one night during a show, she pushed it, and the wheel of the wheelchair smacked the side of the door frame, and it catapulted Mary Jane out of the wheelchair, and all you could see was her silhouette fly in that frosted glass and then land on the ground. Well, then she stood up, and you see her stand up in the frosted mirror in the glass, but then Mary Jane, the actress, realizes my character can't walk, and so she collapsed again. And then she had to crawl off the stage.
Oh no. Oh God.
That's so good.
That's
So
good.
you witnessed that. You were watching the show from the
Oh
back?
yeah, I was at the back, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever."
Did the audience catch it and start laughing? Or
Yeah, well, there was that sense of shock when they see her.
oh, they're all worried for
She's
her.
okay, and then she stands up, and then realizes she couldn't stand and falls to the ground, and then
God.
we'll put it together like, oh, oops, snickering.
Some people in the audience thought she had a stroke.
That's great.
Oh my God, that's good. That's a great story.
That's a great place to end. That's a great note to end it on. Well, we are so happy that you could come, and this is great. And thanks for everybody out there who joined us. We're so glad you could be here. And we'll talk to you later. We love you guys.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you for putting back on your costume. We
We're booking
appreciate
it,
that.
we're booking it, right?
Break is over. Kevin, back to the stage, please. Oh, no, don't do it. Ah, I'm cutting it off. I'm cutting it off. Bye. Oh my God, I can't hit the button.
Beyond the Fourth Wall is produced by Fourth Wall Theater Company, Houston's home for extraordinary performances up close. Each guest is paid for their appearance on this series, in accordance with our mission to pay artists a living wage. Follow the links in the video description to support Fourth Wall with a tax-deductible gift, or to subscribe to our upcoming 10th anniversary season.
Are we getting ready to go?
Yeah, well, we usually go like 8:01.
Hey, we're in charge here. You don't
We
get to have
can go at
special breakdown.
8:10.
I'm telling you, I got a little surprise for you.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Are you bald or something?
Oh no.
No, I got almost.
That was amazing.